So let's go ahead and start off session one by a review of what documentation we have for Velocity, which Velocity is just a scripting language which sits on top of our Java methods, right? So if we go straight here to our table of contents and we click on Velocity, then this is the Velocity User's Guide. And let me also go ahead and get up questions portlet. So if you have any questions, you can type them into me, or if you're having trouble hearing me or anything like that, you can type that into the GoToWebinar. Okay. So whenever we cover what is Velocity, it's just it's an Apache language that once again exposes Java methods, Viewtools. We have a Toolbox XML file which maps the underlying Java methods to the Viewtools, and I think I have a little link here which actually shows some information about how things are mapped using that Toolbox XML. And if we take a look at the local host that I'm currently on, we can go right here to the many dotCMS versions I have here locally on my Mac. And we could go to this current version. Actually, I'm right here. Web apps, root, webinf, and here is our Toolbox XML. So if we wanted to open that and take a look at that file and see the mapping, you can see how the Java class here is mapped here with the key here and inside of this little tool wrapper here. So if we searched for .content, one of our most used tool, you could see that right here. So all the tools are mapped here so that you can actually see what is the underlying class. And if you needed to do any plugin extensions, you know what class to override in your OSGI plugin or static plugin, whatever the case may be. So going back to our Velocity doc, so this scripting language sits on top of our Java methods and exposes some Viewtools that are able to get a return from those Java methods. We've also, just to get you familiar with the syntax, we've put a user's guide here so you can look at the basic syntax. And so if you scroll down, we're just ingesting the Apache documentation here. So if there's an if-else here, we can take a look at how to do an if statement. You can see the hash there, declares a velocity, and a $ declares a velocity variable. So if you needed to do a condition and check a condition in an if statement, how to do an else if, else, and an end. If you wanted to do a for each loop, which we're going to do today, some of the most common methodologies here in an unordered list here, we're doing a for each, setting this velocity variable to be whatever we want to be able to iterate over each object. And then this must be a list. This must be some sort of array of objects, right, that we are pulling, and we've already supplied maybe this list, and maybe this would be the .content.pull, which would pull a list, and then we would iterate over each product in the list of products, right? So there's a lot of basic syntax. This one's a very popular method, which we will be using today. As you're iterating over something in a for each loop, and you want to be able to put, customer name and then comma, space, and then another customer name. Actually, I would put a space here, right? But this would give us just a list of customer names, comma separated. You can say if the for each loop has a next object, this has next method actually returns a true or false if there is another object. Whenever you finally have reached the last object in the for each loop, then this would obviously be false, and then it would not print the comma in this case, right? So this tiny little statement Just helps add commas before the last item in your lists. There's even you could even do for each topmost parent if the topmost, so if you had a for each within a for each, you could actually step outside of the current for each that you're in and check and see if the topmost item has next. So you could do for each topmost dot has next, and then test and see if that's true, and then do something within that for each, within that if statement, right? So some useful syntax here. So before you start as a front-end developer, you should make yourself familiar with this section. I'd say the two most important sections would be the Velocity User's Guide, looking at Viewtools, right? And all of the Viewtools that we include. There's a huge list of them. You could go ahead and sort through. You could also take a look at the, how to handle dates, how to handle strings. There's some basic documentation there to get you started. Encrypting, decrypting, the tag-based block cache, which we're going to go over, how to create your own custom view tool. This is kind of getting you into the Java developer training, giving you a little taster of what you can do. Handling page content and velocity. There is a .page content variable here that if you want to get any page property in the middle of your velocity on your page, or your page properties to load your SEO metadata and your templates, you can do that. So that's really, really helpful. There's also this building sites section. This building sites section has an architectural overview of dotCMS, a tutorial day one, getting started, building your first container, your first content type, your first template, adding your first page, creating your first simple dynamic listing, parsing a VTL file on a page. So you can kind of just create files, work on them in your favorite text editor, and then, say, please execute this code in this file here. Editing your files via WebDAV, building and using forms, and making your first advanced template in addition to a regular template designer template that's kind of a no-code thing. So all of those things are very, very important in getting started with website building. And also the theme section here, also how to get started with building your first theme, and there's a complete video that shows you how to do that, right?